if you're going to do mortuary school, now you can do mortuary school, especially if you're working at a funeral home where you can do your embalmings and get your clinical side of it. You can do mortuary school online. That has evolved is mortuary school, and it's an associate's degree unless you go, or Cincinnati has a bachelor's program. So it's generally roughly a 2-year program. Mortuary school is.
Okay. You mentioned Giles is taking the test for the national
doppelganger.
Yeah, my doppelganger, the national board certification. So it got me thinking, what type of questions are on the national board certification test to become a funeral director?
Oh no!
So I Googled it.
Ugh.
So I'm going to see, Ann Yeager, how many of these questions I can get right. It's not fair for you to take it because you would know them. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself 5 questions. All right? So here we go. Question number 1, a funeral rite that involved. I'm going to go with B, humanistic.
No.
Adaptive is correct. You're 1 for 1. I didn't mean for this to be a quiz for you, but you are correct. You're 1 for 1. So I can scroll down.
See, we don't ever use the terminology adaptive, so I had to explain that to one of my students.
Yeah.
Because they said, well, all of our funerals are adaptive. I said, I know all of ours are, but you have to remember that I don't believe the national board exam has been updated, and I took it 20 years ago. And I don't know when the last time it was updated. So it used to be that funerals were 3 days, a minister, 2 songs, and every one of them, and this is no offense to anybody, not to funeral directors, not to ministers, we have evolved. Our society is constantly evolving. So we have evolved, and I have to say my mother was in the forefront. But I think that's partially also just because she was a woman funeral director, and she was like, sure we can. Of course we can. Of course I can change it. It doesn't have to be the way it's always been done.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, so that's adaptive.
Okay. Question number 2. In the late 19th century, funeral services were usually held in the home, the funeral home, city hall, or a church building. It was ringing after every one of those answers. A home, a funeral home, a city hall, or church building. 19th century, I'm going to go with home. That's got to be my answer.
Yeah, it's either home or church.
Okay, let's go down. It is home. We're both right. You're 2 for 2. I'm 1 for 2. Question number 3, the third stage of anticipatory grief described by Kubler-Ross is anger, bargaining, denial, or depression. I've heard these stages of grief before, but I don't know what order they're in.
It's an acronym. It's DABDA.
It's what?
It's an acronym. It's DABDA.
Denial, so then it's bargaining. It's got to be bargaining then. DABDA, bargaining, is absolutely correct. You're 3 for 3, Ann Yeager. This is why you're the funeral director and I'm not. Question number 4, what type of damages pay over and above the actual loss? A, token, B, nominal, C, punitive, D, compensatory.
Oh, now you're into law stuff.